On my way. Bob, Sarah cries. Grab that dog, Maya yells. I spent a good part of my life running away from a certain guy named Mac, and I still have all my moves. I twist and spin and dip, and before you can say, yes, sirree, Bob, they've given up. I backtrack. I slip under the bench and make my way to Ruby. Ruby, I whisper, I gotta go. Something's important come up. You and Ivan see if you can find George and Julia. I want to come, Ruby says, stomping her right foot in a huge puddle of mud. You need to keep an eye on Ivan, I say. Make sure Kiani doesn't drive him loco with all of her sobbing. I'll be back before you know it. I don't wait for an answer. I'm off into the wild, into the world filled with wind, rain, and wolves and alligators, with a voice that could rip my heart in two. Part 3. Looking. Ivan used to ask me what I did when I was hanging out at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. I wasn't like the rest of the animals, caged or trapped. I told him I was scrounging for food, and he never questioned it. When you think about it, though, there's a better place to find food. Or where's a better place to find food than a mall floor at the end of the day? Yeah, I wasn't looking for food. I was looking for her. For Boss. What if? At first, I didn't admit it to myself. You know how it is when you wish for something you're so bad that you're afraid to say it out loud? 'Cause what if it never happens? It was like that. I knew the odds were crazy long. I knew I was nuts, and yet I went out day after day searching for her. 6. There had been 6 of us in that litter, so why was I only looking for her? Because it was her bark I heard. For the box landed after the truck roared past. I heard it. A whimper bark howl cry, something I've never heard since. She survived, at least at first. I survived. The rest of them didn't. Relieved. And now, what did I do? When I heard that bark, did I run toward it? Did I try to find her? Did I try to save her? No. No. I was just a few weeks old, helpless, useless. The cries stopped almost as soon as they started. And you know what? Part of me was relieved. I didn't want to have to go back into that highway. I couldn't bear wanting to rescue her and not knowing how. So I didn't want to see her die. But mostly, I was afraid. Coward. Yeah, I was afraid. I was a coward. There's a certain freedom that comes with owning your own faults. The wind. Every day I went looking for Boss, up and down that same barren stretch of highway. Sometimes I'd catch a hint of something hopeful in the air and think, maybe it was my sister's scent. And I'd be certain the breeze had brought me her voice, like an invisible gift. The wind can really mess with your head. Enough. After a while, I stopped going to the highway, stopped looking. It was a relief to give up. I had enough to worry about. My paddles. As I run from the park, I keep hearing my sister's yelp in my head. Still, with every step, my doubt grows. Sometimes we hear what we want to hear. The animal shelter is close, just down the street, but there's nothing quick about this trip. Water rushes past like raging rivers. The sun's been swallowed up by black clouds. I pick my way through the muddy front yards, avoiding the worst of the water. I ain't much of a swimmer. Doesn't come up much in my line of work. Though I do a passable dog paddle. The problem is my paddles, my paws, they're tiny. Not much to work with when you're fighting off a flood. I see a couple of humans and flashlights carving tunnels in the sheeting rain, but mostly the street seems like eerily abandoned, especially after the chaos of the park. The shelter is at the bottom of the slight hill. Rain's pooled outside the front door. Despite a pile of sodden sandbags, the police car is out in front, parked in a really odd angle. I find some footing on the large rock near the door. It takes me 3 slippery tries, but I manage to slip into the topmost sandbag. I bark and bark with all I've got, but I might as well have been voiceless between the wind and the rain and the howling animals begging for escape. Inside, I pause to listen. I hear humans shouting. I can make out the sounds like police radio chatter, but I don't hear Boss. I'm right here at the source, and there's nothing. Ugh, it wasn't her bark I heard. She's dead. And I'm crazy. I'm hearing things, and drenched, and shivering. Where's Julia? Where's George? Hey, little guy. The door opens up just a crack. Every bone in my body, every smart part of my doggy brain says, run! This is an animal shelter. A flooding one. Apparently my sister isn't here, and I've got to find George and Julia. The door moves. Swoop! The loop comes down around my neck so fast that for a moment I don't know what it is. It's like a cowboy's lasso, the kind of the old Western movies I used to watch with Ivan. But the lasso is at the end of the long metal handle, and the end of the long metal handle is a man. Stay calm, buddy. The man eases me gently but firmly off the sandbags and through the door. I'm inside the Bow Wow house. It's the big house. The Hound Pound. The Pet Pokey. Oops. A return of Snickers. The man pulls me along with his lasso. I decide not to argue. We enter a small room stacked with animals filled in metal cages, and I'm assaulted by howls and hisses. The cold water on the floor sloshes as we walk, just skimming my belly. As bad as my smeller is, I instantly pick up one distinctive odor. It's kind of the world's worst perfume, and kind of old ladies, the kind that old ladies emit. The kind that people spray on their dog to camouflage that lovely dog stink. The kind that Snickers wears. I catch a glimpse of her in the upper cage, bedraggled, bow in her droopy hair. Snick, baby. Fancy meeting you here, I say. You look good behind bars. Hairbrain, she replies. Hey, calls a rabbit 2 cages down. Watch your language. Matt couldn't deal with you? I asked Snickers. He brought me here because he thought it would be safe. Seems he may have been a little mistaken, I say. Carefully grabbing my scruff, Cowboy lifts me up onto the upper cage, and he pulls the lasso loose and shuts the bar door. I'm not happy, but it's a relief to be out of that noose. Oh, great. Another one, calls a woman wearing a tall rubber boot. She pauses at the doorway. I thought we were turning people away. People, yes, said the cowboy, but this pup came solo. Tick-tock, folks, says an older, ruddy-faced officer. He's holding a radio in one hand and a flashlight in the other. You are running out of time. We hear ya, but first we gotta move everybody who's lower level, Boots sighs. Last hurricane, we had 2 feet to deal with. I swear, they're getting worse and worse. Climate change, says the officer. What you gonna do about it? More than we're doing, says Boots. That much is for sure. I'll move the dogs from room 2, Cowboy offers. There are only a couple on the bottom level. We're out of cages, though, so we're going to have to double up. Put that little female in with that new guy, says Boots. They look like twins. I'm shivering. And it's not because I'm cold. I press my hurt nose to the metal bars. I smell something. I do. I swear I do. Cowboy's returning. Dogs in his arms. A bark. That bark! The door opens. My cage opens. Hey, I automatically say, even though my heart is already whispering the truth. They call me Bob. They call me Boss, says the voice. But now I know, of course, I know. I'm howling with joy. Alive. Thunder claps, shutters fly, windows rattle, water rushes, dogs whimper, cats howl, people yell, and all I can hear is my sister's voice.